What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go down 3%. So pretty much straight out the gate, pre-market had a little bit of a dip, and then it kind of just stayed there. So I think the market is just on pause. So there was some stocks that of course moved with the whole NVIDIA GTC today, so the keynote, but I think just generally the broader market is waiting for tomorrow and for Powell to either give us the green light, say hey, we're good to go, or a little bit more cause for concern. So I think there's a little bit of an even divide as far as some expectations for tomorrow. Not necessarily that there'll be cuts, but what Powell is really going to say. But aside from that, though, SoFi didn't put out any official news. I did see this floating around on social media. So SoFi is adding some promotions associated to SoFi Invest. So I know in the past that's been one thing that they have really lagged on, but hopefully this should really increase their presence for that. So you can win up to 2,000, and I think all you have to do is open an account by, I think it was April the 1st. So it started this promotion on March the 17th. All you have to do, I think, is just put $50 in an account based on these terms and various things. So yeah, honestly, I think that's kind of a good thing. Hopefully that does result in a little bit more of a additional push for the Q1 earnings on the SoFi Invest side. So this one I did find rather interesting. Aside from that, though, you did have shorts really increase, 1.84 million shares. 12.41% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 133.81 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum is positive for the second consecutive day. So I know that kind of sounds weird to say, but that is rather abnormal for SoFi. So shorts are starting to wake up a little bit. Moving over to options, there was a lot of interesting kind of scenarios. So looking at options, 7.03 million in calls, 3.71 in puts. 46% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. And normally kind of the day before Powell speaks and whatever big event, you have a lot of abnormal volume, and that's done by institutions rebalancing. I think just this week in general being a quad witching week and also rebalancing week, you are seeing a lot of abnormal transactions coming from the institution side. But there was this, so between 245 and 250 there was 1.1 million in premiums. And if we kind of pull this up and kind of orient it based on the premiums, two large transactions, both bearish, and honestly it was very weird. So, and the exact same time on a side note, so it is the same entity, but they both were $1 calls that were sold, which generally is very bearish. Not as though that they are feeling that SoFi is going to get to $1, I don't think. Rather, they're just using it as a hedge. But in my opinion, it's kind of weird because based on what they got for premiums, it's as though they could have just easily sold. So I don't know if they physically have the actual stock itself. It's just they're maybe locking in some profits. Maybe that's kind of their way of doing it, because essentially by selling a $1 call, if SoFi was to go down, I think the actual call itself would appreciate almost to the same ratio as shorting, if that kind of makes sense. But this definitely was rather odd. So you did have one that expires June 2026, the second one being October 2025. So why do you think that clearly some large entity that would sell almost $1 million in premiums worth would do $1 calls? Kind of weird. And it was a single leg transaction, so it wasn't a multi-leg or anything, so kind of weird for that. So I don't know, I just wanted to throw that one out there. Was rather odd. But aside from that, though, of the call options that were purchased, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that $12.50 to $13 range. It's a little bit of a recovery, and then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub $11. So that's kind of a positive thing, even though there is a lot of kind of concern about what might come tomorrow. It looks like the bears, the worst case scenario from what they are projecting is for it to be kind of at 11. So that's kind of maybe a good thing, if that makes sense. So let me know your general 2 cents on that. Aside from that, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So not overly that much in transactions, but like I said, I think it's just big money is holding their breath and waiting for tomorrow just to see how that does play out. But you do see a good amount of buying that did happen throughout the day. Just, of course, given the circumstances, there was a overwhelming amount of selling, but 8.8 million, 1.3, 1.2. So those are some of the big ones from today. These are all the transactions that did occur on the dark pool. So dark pool is a little bit more active. Of course, that's because it's linked to shorting, but you had one big one right here, 4.3, 1.5, 2.6. A couple big ones right here, so 10.3, 10.6 right there, and that was done like basically an hour before the market did close. But overall, with it at $11.95, it did close between this S2 and this S3. So as I brought up in my pre-market video, it was probably just going to trade within this range. Last 2 days didn't touch either the S2 or the S3. So we're just kind of waiting just to see whether the market is going to really push higher with tomorrow, obviously concluding Powell. And so 1272 will be that next strong target / resistance. Flip side, 1131. Moving over here, no new analyst ratings, nothing along those lines. So last ratings did come out roughly, I think it was just shy of around 2 weeks ago, so 11 days. $13 sell. Bank of America analyst has a 60% success rating, so not all that great. But aside from that, though, on the actual chart itself, it did hold up above that ALMA, so that is sitting at $11.91. The next big kind of support based on moving averages is that 200, and that is sitting at $10.94. So overall, let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Do you think that we are going to be in the short term retesting this 200-day moving average that it bounced off of in March 11th and also the day prior on the 7th? Or do you think that we're going to move higher to potentially that 100-day moving average that is sitting at 1446? So it's going to be a volatile time the rest of the week, like I said, with quad witching, rebalancing for Q1, as well as just Powell. So it should be a fun time. So get ready. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people, a lot of good chat, talking about stocks, options, and crypto, everything that you need in life. So link in the description below and also the comments. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.